How many times have you said it? I'll start when I feel motivated. When life calms down, I'll begin. Hey, when the timing's right, that's when we're going to do it. Team, here's the truth. Motivation isn't coming. It's not lost. It's not hiding. It is waiting, and it is waiting for you. And if you keep waiting to feel ready, you will miss every opportunity your life is trying to hand you. Team, today I'm going to show you why action, not motivation, is what actually builds momentum, confidence, and change. Action will change your life. Waiting will not help you. Because motivation doesn't start the engine. It's what shows up once you start driving. Well, hello there, team. It is Coach Bart here, and this is Built Resilient, the podcast where we stop waiting for perfect conditions and start doing these small, petty, unsexy actions that actually build real strength. We're here to level up your physical, mental, and emotional resilience. And if you have ever said, I just need to feel motivated, this episode is for you. We're going to talk about why waiting to feel ready is quietly killing your progress and how you can move anyway, even on the days when you feel flat, tired, or even uncertain. Once upon a time, there was a little boy named Bart, and he thought he wanted to be an actor. And I loved the spotlight. I loved, if I'm honest, the attention, the applause, the performance. But deep down, I think what I really loved was indeed the attention. Acting school taught me a lot, far too much to rattle off in this episode, but it taught me a lot about craft, it taught me a lot about vulnerability, but it also taught me something uncomfortable. I didn't love the grind that came with acting. I loved the process. I loved the creative process. But the actual industry, it drained me. It did. And then life gave me a pretty nasty plot twist, a twist that I didn't audition for. Cancer. At 23, I was diagnosed with a peripheral malignant nerve sheath tumour. The course of action was twofold: an operation to cut the tumour out, and then radiation therapy to blast every forsaken cancer cell that might be remaining in that area. And this entire process stripped away every illusion of control I thought that I had. My body, it changed. My energy, it just seemingly vanished in an instant. And my confidence, it was gone. And for a long time, I waited. I waited for far too long. I waited to feel like myself again. I waited to be inspired. I waited for that spark of motivation to return. But you know what, team? It never came. It never did. So one day I decided to stop waiting. I drew a line in the sand and I made one of the best decisions of my life. I walked into a gym. I was scared and I was weak. I was uncertain, like I'm sure a lot of you are. But you know what? I decided to move anyway. And then something clicked. I remembered from my acting how the body could change emotion. It could change being. It could change posture. How breath and posture could shift absolutely everything. And I rebuilt my body. And coincidentally, I started rebuilding my life. And it was in that moment I learned a very important truth. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. So why do we wait? Why do we keep waiting? It's because our brains confuse comfort with safety. I'm going to say that again. Our brains confuse comfort with safety. Psychologically, motivation is tied to the brain's reward system. It fires when something feels achievable, enjoyable, or perhaps even urgent. But most meaningful goals are none of these things, at least not at first. Our brains, they hate uncertainty, and to be honest, they hate effort. But what they do crave is comfort, and they crave ease. And in our modern world, what I call a comfort crisis, although a bit alarmist, we've built a lifestyle that lets us avoid almost every form of discomfort. I mean, let's think about it. Are you too tired to cook? Just tap a button and the food will come to you. Are you feeling bored? Hey, pull out your phone and scroll endlessly. You have some sort of uncomfortable emotion? Distract yourself with every streaming platform that you can think of. We've engineered friction out of our lives. But friction is what makes us move, it what gives us motivation. When everything's easy, motivation, it dies. I like to think about motivation as a muscle, and like any muscle, if you do not use it, you lose it. It shrinks. And so what we've got to understand about momentum is it doesn't just appear. It develops. It develops through action. We don't lack motivation. We lack meaningful struggle in our lives. That's why when something truly hard shows up, starting a business or rebuilding your body or leaving a relationship, it all of a sudden may feel impossible. Not because you can't do it, but because you haven't practiced doing hard things. You'll be happy to know that I did a little bit of research before today's episode. I know, mind blown, but psychology has a name for this phenomenon. It's called the behavior activation loop. And here is how it works. You take action. And that small action releases a bit of dopamine, the hey, you did something chemical. That reward then makes you want to act again. And that second action releases even more dopamine. It's a positive feedback loop built on motion, not emotion. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about self-development is thinking that you need motivation to start. Team, you don't. You don't. You just need motion to build momentum. It's like pushing a car that has stalled. The first shove feels almost impossible, but once it rolls just a few centimeters, it all of a sudden gets easier. That is the psychology of momentum. So how do you act when you don't feel like it? Here is the framework, team. This is the framework I've used in a number of presentations in the past, and I've used it with clients and indeed myself. Step number 1 is to shrink the goal. When motivation is low, your brain exaggerates the task. Team, it's like I've been saying time and time again, let's start small. So I want you to make that first step embarrassingly small. If you want to train, I just want you to put on your shoes. I want you to put them in your bag and take them to work. If you want to write a book, I want you to open the document and write the title. And if you want to connect with someone, I want you to send one message. Give one olive branch. You're not trying to finish the race here, team. You're just starting the race. And we start with one small step. And because once you start, the resistance weakens. The car all of a sudden starts rolling. Step number 2 is I want you to anchor the identity. Who am I becoming? Not what the hell am I doing? When I was rebuilding after cancer, I didn't think I have to work out. I have to do this. I thought I'm someone who shows up. I want to be someone who shows up for myself. I want to be someone who is a leader. And this identity that I was giving to myself, the person that I wanted to become, and the identity that you can give yourself to, acts like an identity anchor. And identity anchors are stronger than motivation because they give your actions meaning. When you move towards identity, the smallest effort feels all of a sudden purposeful. And this is the magic. This is the stuff where motivation starts to cultivate. Step number 3 is to reward the effort and not the outcome. Reward the effort and not the outcome. Most people quit because they measure the wrong thing. They look for results instead of consistency. But psychology tells us that confidence comes from self-efficacy. The belief that your actions actually create impact. I'm having this conversation with my family and my friends at this moment in terms of their career. I've got a few friends that feel flat, like they're not contributing to something bigger than themselves, like they don't have impact, and thus their motivation, their confidence is failing. And so the conversation we're having is, okay, how can we create more impact in your life, either with your current role or with a new role? And perhaps change for them is just on the horizon. It's all about creating belief that your actions have impact. And that belief then only grows when you acknowledge the effort, when you reward yourself. So I want you to say it out loud when you've done something good. I did it, even if it was small. In fact, especially if it was small. This is how you train your brain to crave follow through and train your brain to build momentum. Team, 3 simple steps. Step 1, shrink the goal, make it small. Start with one small step. Step number 2 is anchor your identity. Who do I want to become rather than what do I want to achieve? And then number 3 is to reward your effort. Hey, I did that. I took that small step forward. And then wash, rinse, and repeat these 3 steps. Here is a truth that most of us will fail to admit. Most of us aren't unmotivated. We're just overcomfortable. We have mistaken convenience for happiness. And to be honest, it's costing us our resilience and it's costing us our health. When you voluntarily step into discomfort, whether it's a cold shower, whether it's a workout, or whether it's a difficult conversation, you remind your nervous system that you can survive hard things. You can do it. And that's how we reignite drive. That's how we build momentum of confidence. The good life isn't about avoiding friction. It's not about avoiding hardship. It's about learning to push through it mindfully, choosing discomfort that builds you instead of the kind that breaks you. So, the next time you catch yourself saying, I'll start when I feel ready, remember, readiness is built in motion, not in thought. So team, we're at the point of the episode where I challenge you for this week. And here is your challenge. I want you to pick one area you have been stuck. Maybe it's in your health, fitness, your training. Maybe it's in journaling. Maybe it's creating content. Or maybe it's even starting a new project. All I want you to do is shrink that goal. I want you to anchor it to your identity. Who do I want to become because of this? And then I want you to reward your effort no matter how small that step is. That is how you break the comfort loop, and that is how we rebuild motivation from the ground up, because motivation isn't a lightning bolt. It's a muscle. We need to train it, and every rep of action makes it strong. Team, my name is Bart Walsh. This podcast is Built Resilient. I am a speaker, I am a fitness expert, and I am very grateful that you made it this far into the episode. Team, I don't want you to wait for motivation. I want you to move first. I want you to move when it's uncomfortable. The feeling will follow once you build momentum. And if you want to help us build momentum here at Built Resilient, hit that subscribe button. I'll say it again. Hit that subscribe button, give us a 5-star rating and review. Help us move up those Apple Podcast charts and get this message, get this motivation out to more people in this world. And if it particularly hit a chord with you today, I want you to share it. Either on your Instagram story, you can tag me at walsh.fit, or you can share it with a loved one who may benefit from listening to this message of motivation. Team, thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. Remember to choose resilience. Adios.